Hello, hello, hello. Hello there, and welcome back to the drawing board of Frantz Kantor. And I'm going to do another caricature today. The subject of my drawing exercise, my drawing today, is going to be this fellow. Who is he, you might ask? Well, you know, he's the Premier of Victoria. Daniel Andrews, Premier Daniel Andrews, who some people call the chairman. And this is during the pandemic, of course. He's on our TVs every day with this punam. This is his face. So he's in the middle of this mess, which is the pandemic. And here's another expression, which is really good too. I like this. I must say, I'm not a big fan of politics normally, but I like seeing the effect of issues that weigh heavily on these people, and it shows in their faces. So that's like a campaign a long time ago when he was smiling. Nothing to smile about anymore. So this is how he has come to us. I like this photograph because it kind of reminds me of somebody, and I'll explain to you who it is in a second. Okay, so these are the expressions of a premier, of a leader in jeopardy, in crisis. We're all in crisis because of the pandemic, you know. And he's sort of like, it's a sign of the times. You get a lot of these, you know, sad faces, angry punams. All right, so let's have a little listen of who Daniel Andrews is. Daniel Michael Andrews, is an Australian politician and current Premier of Victoria, a post he has held since 2014. He has been the state leader of the Australian Labor Party since 2010, and from 2010 to 2014 was the leader of the opposition. He was born on 6th of July 1972 in Williamstown. And what else is there? Premier of Victoria since 2014. Education. Education. Now this is where it gets interesting. Mannix College. And I thought that really impressed me. Mannix College. He was educated in Mannix College. And that's my favorite TV detective, Mannix. So having a college named after my favorite TV detective is ace in my books. The other thing, I just wanted to very quickly, who does he remind me of? He reminds me of this guy, who is Dennis the Menace's father in the TV show Dennis the Menace. So you can see, it's obviously thinner, but basically Daniel Andrews. So Daniel Andrews, like the character of Dennis, the father of Dennis the Menace, is always being, the subject of hijinks and troubles. Right? This is the face of a troubled man with the glasses and the greying hair and all this sort of stuff. Looks like an accountant. And he's being troubled by Dennis the Menace. Well, similar to Dennis's father, you know, being troubled by Dennis the Menace, we have a premier here who's like Dennis's father, being troubled by the new Dennis the Menace, which is the COVID-19. All right, so let's get into what are we doing here with Mr. Andrews? Let's have a look. I thought we'd pick something like what would that be? Like a breadfruit or a peanut with a heavier undercarriage. So here we have a peanut shape which we're going to work with, and we're going to force all of these elements of the face within the structure of the new structure that we're creating, which is just to make it more interesting and challenging. Word of the day. Word of the day. You look at this, if you were to go into the dictionary and you were to look up the word unbeknownst, you would have this fellow's photograph for sure. otherwise known as my favorite saying, little did I know. Little did I know means unbeknownst, and that's the word for today. Okay? All right, children, let's get back into the drawing. So what I've done here is I'm going to be using this eggplant shape or peanut shape and attaching ears onto the thing because that seems to be a thing. You know, his ears a little bit, they hang out like open doors, and that seems to be a thing for a lot of caricaturists find elements that we can pick on and we can derive much pleasure, not just in, you know, exaggerating them, but for fun. But I mean, that is a given, right? But also they're prominent features that we can study in the drawing process. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so I've taken the opportunity to do this little thumbnail, work out some of the details that I want to do, and I've transferred it as much as I can to a larger version, a pencil. So I'm trying to work it out as I go and simplify things if I can. I've just noticed actually the eyes are going to be quite a feature on this because you need that Dennis the Menace's father's shock. that shocked look, because it's unbeknownst is a caricature. We're doing a caricature not only of Daniel Andrews, but we're doing a caricature of unbeknownst. So unbeknownst to him, ta-da, and that's what we're going to do. All right. So what else can we pick on? We're actually looking at a light source, which is nice, which is coming in from the top left, and that's going to create a nice range of shadows on the right side of the form so that we can get a very three-dimensional look. The other things that we might consider is the concept of the likeness is based on this mask zone, so-called, because it contains the eyes and the nose and the mouth, which I've added as well, because all of these things interrelate some way with muscles and things that sort of trace around the forms themselves. And if you don't believe me, let's have a look at this skinless creature, the skinless man. And you can see here there are ringlets of muscles around the eyes, around the nose, around the mouth, right? And they're all somehow interconnected. Okay, and then there are these master pulleys, the system of muscles that add extra validity to the expressions. And I'm saying these are expressions because more than survival, this is not a Darwinian principle here. We're going a bit further than Darwin. We're saying, okay, well, fine, you know, all the muscles are there the same as chimpanzees, monkeys, apes, you know, cats, dogs, rabbits, mice, whatever. But they're in different proportions and they're used differently. And that's the most important thing. It's not so much that the muscles are the same. We can draw comparisons to frogs, but it's not the muscles that are the same. It's the use of those muscles. There is an incredible amount of brain power in this head, and much more than any other animal. You know, I mean, you could argue that with a lot of people, especially politicians. But yeah, and you know, well, here's a newt. The whole idea of this is that the muscles themselves are used differently in humans than they are in monkeys. Okay, so they're used to communicate in very subtle ways, and that's a very interesting kettle of fish there, if you like kettle of fish. I love kettle of fish, but the idea is that these muscles are so minutely interconnected, and they have such a unique purpose, more than just shutting out the light or eating or yelling or whatever. They're used for these communication purposes, because we communicate with our hands like this, and we communicate with our face and our body language, right? So we're master communicators, and that's very interesting because those thoughts and feelings show up in our face. And that's what we're going to try to look for. We're going to try to discover some level of story that's happening inside Daniel Andrews' punam, in his face. That's what we're going to try to get. So let's go. Ooh, that's a bit of a shock, isn't it? So let's have a look. We'll try and get as much information as we can as we go. All right, let's sharpen our scalpel. And now we're going to operate. Right, so the first thing I want to do is to create a sense of relevance with the eyes. He's got light eyes, blue eyes. So that means you can clearly see the pupils. And the position of the eyes, or the irises in the white of the eyes, the sclera, so how much of the white of the eye is showing, is also an indicator of expression. Expression is an indicator of thoughts and feelings. So that's the first indicator. Then expressions that are more prevalent create lines, furrows and wrinkles, etc. And they're very interesting because, you know, if somebody is, say, angry a lot of the times, you get angry lines. If someone's smiling, you know, happy a lot of the time, you get happy lines, you know, and that's sort of par for the course. It's like the Grand Canyon is formed by the slow, trickle of water over millions and millions of years, and then eventually it's create these big forms. And this is the same concept of actually, you know what, we need a little bit more room underneath. Just you see how minute these changes can be. You've got to really be on the ball and think about the spaces around things, because, you know, any micro a fraction of a millimeter will, you know, often make a difference in a drawing. So other things that we're looking for is a little bit of anatomy, because, you know, oftentimes photographs don't tell the whole story. So the rest of the story you've got to glean by detective work, and also a little bit of, common sense based on observation of forms. So him being a human, of course you're looking at human anatomy, and that's a very important thing, because it gives the face a lot of realism. There's also a lens effect happening with these glasses too, which we're going to try, which is interesting, and I think we're going to try and get that if we can. So just bear with me. We'll try and get this lens effect. Okay, good. So, unbeknownst means that it's little did I know, it's like a surprise. So you need that sort of Dennis the Menace's dad surprise. Not the Mr. Wilson angry and surprise, but the dad of Dennis the Menace. That's that level of surprise. So not angry eyes, but surprise. Oh, I didn't know that. And of course, you know, you're up on the podium and you're asked a question that you don't know the answer to. That's the face you make. There, right there. Okay, all right, we're having fun. We're having a bit of fun. Having a little bit of fun. Why not? What else can we do here? It's got an ear. Okay, so the lens effect is quite interesting here, because the ear is normally placed, but the The lens is shifting things around. I must admit, this man's face has grown on me over the past few months, where it's like being locked in a lift. We're locked in a lift with him, and and we've gotten to know him a little bit every day. He comes and gives us our bad news. This is part and parcel of their job, I think, really, to deliver bad news. And that's been a sort of a thing. You know how presidents are made or leaders are made by their situation? Like Churchill, is made by the Second World War, right? So some of us have greatness thrust on us. Well, he's had this bug thrust on him, and he's been, look, it's a tough job. I don't think anyone. I think the leader of the opposition should, cut him a bit of slack. He would never have done a better job. I think it's a hard job, this one. Let's be honest. It's tough, right? It is tough. So let's give. We're not going to give him a round of applause. We won't get that far. But we'll just say, like that. That's all. That's all we get. It's all you're going to get, Daniel. You're not going to get a round of applause. Not yet. Maybe. Depends on what happens in the next few months or few weeks or whatever. But at the moment, we'll just give you this. That's it. That's all you get. Very interesting man, very interesting times, and times sometimes define people. And, he'd probably, obviously, he would not like to be defined as the COVID premier, but, I think we're looking at defining Trump as the COVID president. So, that's it. It's just, you just happen to be there at the wrong time, mate. And that's all there is to it. Okay, so we're going to get in some nice shapes here, and then we're going to build up tonally with a white pencil, a sculptural effect. So we're using a black pencil, a brown pencil, and a white pencil. And you might say, why? Well, it was good enough for Da Vinci, so there. And also, if you look at cave paintings in Europe, they used earthy colours, not just charcoal. So there you go. So the idea is to create like a tonal painting, a tonal drawing, sorry, not a painting, but a tonal drawing, using colour pencils instead of, HBs, instead of this sort of graphite. So graphite's good, but it has a distinct disadvantage in drawing tone, because you've got to use white paper and you've got to create a lot of tone. This way it's going to meet us halfway. 50% of the work's already done. So all you've got to do is help it out a little bit. That's it. And just reveal a little bit of the form. That's the story. Okay. Right. So, like Dennis the Menace's dad, they both have these enormous glasses, which are features, and they make them look like accountants. Now, there's nothing you can do about that. You wear glasses, you look like a nerd. That's it. There's nothing you can do about, to change that. I don't know how many little nodules in coronavirus. I thought we'd have this sort of little satellites of bugs. orbiting the big bug, orbiting our premiere. Premiere is something else. Ta-da! This is a premiere. Ta-da! We might still leave the premiere part for later on. At the moment, I'm more concerned with creating this believable expression of surprise, because word of the day, unbeknownst, right? Surprise! Little did I know. And that's the situation where I'm sure he would agree that little did he know that, coronavirus. This little did he know. This is it. This is what we got to deal with. So, strange times indeed, and sad for many, many people. But definitely strange. And who would have believed? Unbeknownst. It's, that's it. It's an unbeknownst situation here. So I'm going to stylize a little bit of the light, but I'm going to have a go at creating a three-dimensional effect by having like a rim light, which is just a light on the very edge next to the line, next to the black line, which kind of gives things a little bit of a three-dimensional look and feel. Alright, so where are we going with this? Sometimes, when you move things around in a caricature, you've got to sort of re-establish the relationship between things. Like you move stuff around, and it's like moving the goalposts in a game. Now you've got to run a bit further, but you've got to just double check to make sure you're not running into the I'm looking for the outfield, the end zone, running into the what do you call it, the out of bounds. There you go. That's my end of my sports analogies. So I'm good at putt-putt. Pretty good at putt-putt. You can depend on me at the windmill. There you go. Everything else, nah. I've tried everything except football. I hate cricket. I don't mind baseball, or rounders, as it used to be called in school. Basketball, tried my hand at that, but I'm more interested in the Harlem Globetrotters. I love them. So it's more of a. I'm a good basketball spectator, or ice hockey. I love ice hockey, but only if there's a scrap on the field, on the rink. So I'm looking at these, I'm changing the shapes, the relevance of a lot of these shapes and things. I'm inventing, proportions, changing proportions and reinventing new relationships between things. So you'll notice there's a lot of little spidery lines here. So there's a lot of concerns he has, but they're tiny concerns compared to the big picture. He's a big picture guy, you can tell. He has broad features, big eyebrows, big eyes, big glasses, big, everything big. So he's a big issue man. He's a big issue politician. A lot of politicians are like that. Trump, for example, is a big issue politician, and he likes the big issues, not the little tiny things. Little tiny things annoy him. They sort of get in the way of his big plans and ideas. And it's the same with Daniel Andrews, and I don't know him, but I can imagine that from his expression, not so much the expression, but the telltale signs of thoughts and feelings and emotions that played across his face created these tiny spider lines of confusion. So there's a lot of things going on here. Tiny things compared to big issues, big things, you know. I mean, obviously he's facing a big thing now, which is coronavirus, and, you know, I mean, it's yet to prove whether it's going to have any lasting effect on his expressions or his wrinkles or whatever, or, you know, I mean, he'd probably get a grey hair. Let's actually, that's sort of that's coming up, isn't it, this grey hair here? Let's define that a bit better. Sort of a white. That's the Fiegel-Sharkey effect. And if you know him, good on you, because I can't remember his music very well. But I remember the head, I remember that. The Bride of Frankenstein streak of white. So he's got that. And presumably, you know, that shock combined with that expression, it'll get bigger over time, for sure. I love the way how he's got some great hair here. I love to capture this. This can be some really interesting forms here. I've made a mistake initially with the mouth, and I had to sort of correct it and sort of tease it back into the muscles, into position, because, you know, all of these things, they form a symmetry, like not a symmetry, a rhythm, yeah? Musical term, rhythm, but it means the things that sort of connect one to the other. That's what you're looking for in a drawing. All right, let's press on with all possible dispatch. So, outlining forms, outlining elements of the face, you have to make decisions about perspective and about changing perspective. I'm changing the perspective of the nostrils, for example. I'm reducing the nostrils and expanding the bulb. So that's just a thing that I'm doing because I find it will give me a better final effect, I think. Also, you know, working on tone paper, you become aware of the strength of the black pencil, because the black pencil works as a beautiful a way of strengthening the proposal of the brown pencil, the structure that you're drawing. And it shouldn't really stand out on its own because it doesn't have any color, obviously, but it does. What I'm trying to say is it doesn't have any tonal, color tonal properties. So the reason why people use a brown pencil on toned paper, whether it be buff paper or grey paper or whatever, is because the brown pencil actually gives you a kind of a feeling for flesh. Because, you know, flesh is warm, living flesh is warm. And it has a temperature, right? So that means that these, the brown pencil can give you a sort of a warmth to the elements that you're drawing. Pick your battles, sorry. And, you know, always use a sharp pencil. Okay, we're finding ourselves in this very, very challenging situation. And I've noticed that people are congratulating us. Good on you, Victoria, you're so brave, it's like somebody getting an injection in the butt, you know, saying, oh, you're such a brave boy, yes. And then, ow! But that's what it feels like, you know, then people saying that, you know, you're taking it on the chin, Victoria. No one asked us to get an injection in the butt. be different if someone asked us and just said,
You know what? I'm feeling very heroic. Yes, give me an injection in the butt.
no one asked. So, it's sort of like, thanks. Thanks, Australia. Yeah. We're good, aren't we? Yeah. Not happy Jan. Not happy Jan. Why is that bulge there? You have to be careful. That's why. You've got to be careful with, lines. You'd be surprised, half a millimeter and lines start to wander, and that creates like a wrong direction, a faux pas. And I'm not talking like, oh well, it's like like Bob Ross, it's a happy mistake, it's a happy tree. No, it's not happy. It's a mistake. Fix it. So, it sounds very animated, doesn't it? Fix it. So, like Premier Danny Andrews, he's trying to fix, the things that are wrong with us. Why is that happening? Why is that happening? I'm asking you. This is an electric eraser. Let's try and get some of that over there and put some of the white back, or some of the grey paper back there. That seems to be alright. Okay, we're going to fix this, don't worry. I've started a little bit of white. We're going to build up more white here, and that's going to create a lovely three-dimensional drawing. So that's going to be fun. I haven't done politicians for many, many years. Well, not many, many years, but a few years. And I don't really care for it because, I'm not a partisan type of person. I'm a people person. And, I like people. And I like different people. I don't care about politics that much. It's not something that we all rant and rave about things, but when we get in the poll booth, it's kind of a different matter, isn't it? We think, I have to make a decision that I have to live with for a few years. So, I honestly can't remember if I voted for him or not. So I don't know. I may very well have. I just don't know. So blame me. There you go. You can blame me. No. Anybody would have had, this would have, no, the leader of the opposition is going, phew, thank God it's you and not me. That's what he's saying. He has no one has any idea what to do, really. They keep saying it's unknown territory. It's unknown territory. Unbeknownst. Unbeknownst. This is the expression of unbeknownst. So we don't know what we're doing. Nobody really knows what they're doing because it's an unbeknownst. That's it. Word for the day, unbeknownst. So you can get angry, you can be a Karen and say, this, that and the other or whatever, but at the end of the day, unbeknownst. That's it. So he's got this sort of, 1,000-yard stare as well, which means that the pupils are diverging out. So I don't know whether that's it could have had something, an eye issue. We don't know. But it's a trait you have to sort of balance, and hopefully you're not going to create something that is hurtful. don't want to hurt people, because, drawings should have truth to them. Caricatures are beautiful things when they have truth to them, and you don't sort of pick on things that are sensitive about people, that they might be they might construe as or misconstrue as cruelty. Don't want to be cruel. You might think, well, big deal. They've got thick skins, they're politicians. No one really has a thick skin. That's not true. That's rubbish. Everybody cares about what other people think, especially people in the public eye. Of course they do. I love the changes of... There's some subtle lines that sort of veer to the left. This sort of ballet of lines that veer up to the left. So there's an issue, to the left. If those of you that are students of body language or facial meanings and things like that can say, well, that's the future or the past or making things up. It's sort of like somebody making their reality as opposed to somebody just reflecting on the reality. I'm actually not so... I used to be... It was interesting to study, but I think that whole idea of the relevance of the eye directions and things, I think it's too precise to be really relevant. I don't believe it's works. It's like the zodiac or numerology. It doesn't, it's a great theory, but it doesn't really work out as a template for everything. But it's still interesting. Okay. See where the black goes? It goes cold. So, just keep it nice and warm. When you see sharps, put the sharps in. When you see angles, put the angles in. Just keep looking back and forth to the reference to find that level of truth in what you're doing, what you're trying to say with a pencil. Because ultimately, it's a combination of things. It's what you've discovered in the drawing process, what you find important. That's why, drawings, they say so much more than photographs. Because it's like an investigation, and you start to see things that the artist has intended you to see, rather than just having a quick glance like a photograph. This is more of an intense study. So there's a lot of things I'm thinking about: structure of the ear, the texture of the ear, different parts of the ear. Some elements are shiny, some are matte, some are peach fuzzy, which means that the texture is softer. So, black pencil. This polychromo, this black pencil, has got a good strong black when you press hard, and it can be quite nice, especially on white paper. It's a very, very dense black, strong black, and can be very dramatic. So there you go. Fill that in. I'll probably help this out a little bit more with a black brush pen, which is this is a zig. It's a zig pen, so the ink is in the handle. You squeeze it into the brush tip. We'll have a look at that in a minute. All right, here we go. Getting closer now. You can feel the tension build up. All right, so what can we do with this? Let's continue on here. We've got this nice flow, and I like this sort of, this rhythm, off-balance rhythm. It's kind of like I use this sort of framing device to anchor the image that's off-center into using the device to anchor it to the page, and that implies negative space, which is a contained area of space around the central figure, around the central object. And the theory of it is like the yin and yang symbol, right? Which is balance. So the same amount of black as white, right? Ultimate balance. That's the theory behind this device. And I kind of base it on, artists, illustrators like Norman Rockwell, or principally Drew Struzan, who's a movie poster illustrator, which you may be familiar with, and I've loved his work for years. Okay, so now we've changed the shape of the mouth here. We've given it sort of a lip up on one side. So the same direction as with moving with the eyebrows. We're exaggerating that movement, and I'm going to exaggerate this to complement it, even though it's not really in the photograph, but I can feel it being there. And that's really enough to create that reason, I think, to create a reason for it changing direction. And also, there's a little bit of perspective happening, which I can try to accentuate, and I'll show you how to do that, because things that come forward catch light. So there you go. So that's catching the light, the lip, beautifully there. There's a shine in the middle of this, whatever that thing is called, the fulcrum, or I forget what it's called now. Some lovely elements of shine around his eyes. I'm going to catch that. I love this expression. He's got quite a beautiful face, as faces go, I think. And that is because he's quite expressive. He's got quite a youthful face, in that there's not a lot of lines, deep lines in his face. So I was finding this a very interesting project. Cool. Remember also there's the light, we're establishing the light coming in from the left. So shadows really have to fall down this way. Okay? So if you're putting shadows in something, it has to make sense. All right. Inside the ear, there's a propensity to have shine inside, which just is a reflective element because of the oils and things, the wax of the ears, So again, going very slowly. Take your time with caricatures, I think, because they're exercises after all, and you need to benefit from the process itself. I've just noticed that there is some lower teeth. They're quite dark in his mouth in the photograph, but they are there. So we'll put them back into the lower part of the mouth. Complete the expression, I think. That's a nice... I'm looking at things, you know, like caricatures of caricatures, like within the exaggerated area, you find things to individually exaggerate, right? So angles of teeth, for example. Always remember, don't colour things in. Think about it, you know, because what's there? It's darker over there, because why? That's the cheek. But here, it's not. Why? Because the tongue is there. That's why. So if I was to colour that in, you're taking the tongue away. Okay, so let's get some shine in there so the black pencil's not sort of overpowering our shiny bits. The shine, I love the shine on lips because you've got that sort of, you know, crease lines that break up that ribbon of light. They're quite nice things to draw. Actually, I might try to use the brown pencil more over here. And might be helpful because, you know, not everything is, you can't do everything with a black pencil. This isn't that proposal with the black pencil. It's not that. It's a concept, not a solo. All right. So we've got some shine happening in the beard area over here. So this is the constant shaving, gives you sort of a shine, takes the top layers of skin off. So a razor burn type of situation sometimes happens. So you go through this stuff, don't you? You cause and effect. You know, what causes that shine? What causes that lump? What does that mean? You know, and the cumulative effect of all of these elements make up the reality of the character that you're drawing. Okay. So the pencil allows you to, you know, make a slower decision on what's dark and what's light and what's linear and what's not. What's more form than line. So you can just use it on the side like this for, you know, darkening the brown pencil. That's lost the shadow here. Be careful how much shadow to put in too. That'll work. Okay, so right, let's I'm going to put a side light over on that side too, a rim light. Those of you that are purists, it's called a rim light. Okay, so there's some lines there which shouldn't be there. That was because I moved the mouth before. Let's see if I can fix it. Okay. Use the crosshatch effect here Remember that there's shadow from the glasses coming down, but it's not that prominent. Okay, that's good. All right. So far so good. I made him chubbier, but that's all right. I like the relationships that's happening here. See, this is a beautiful pencil. This is a Prismacolor. It's soft, which means they can transfer a lot of pigment. It's very strong, thick. You know, harder you press, the more pronounced, the more whiter it is. We can also use Posca markers, which are paint pens, and that's going to help with establishing the hierarchy of light and shade. So the contrasts, which give the drawing a sense of drama. There's quite a lot involved in it, isn't there? There's, you know, you thought this would be an easy job. It's not. It's a fun job. It's not easy, it's fun. You know, which I guess makes it easy in a way, because it's enjoyable. I'm enjoying this. I'm really enjoying. You're learning all about Daniel Andrews. I'm learning more about Daniel Andrews now than I have over the past few years. Because you know, when you see somebody, you're not really paying attention, even if you see photographs of them. You don't really pay attention. But when you draw them, you're sort of hyper-focused on elements, and it's a very interesting thing. You can apply that principle to any form of learning, actually. Anything that you want to learn about brain surgery. Draw brains. So there's a tightening of skin around this area. It's just there's a little they're tightening areas. Tightened areas. There we go. What a cool name for a high school, man. Or a college in Mannix. It's a better name than the one I went to, Hawaii 5. No, it's more of a Simon Templar. College of Fine Art, the Simon Templar College of Fine Art. So you can see there's three-dimensional properties that are coming through. Now remember, there's, you know, looking at the shadows now, and the blemishes in the skin. It's important to sort of refer to the blush of cheek, the blush of youth, the blush of youth. Let's put the blush of youth in. Or the blush of blush, whatever it is. Could just be a blush. Why not? That's good. That'll do. There's also, some very interesting things in the face. Let me just grab the skull. So, have a look at Yorick here. So what do we notice is that there's a tightening of skin around the forehead, the cranium, and also around the cheeks. Now, even though the reference doesn't refer to it, the cheekbones are quite prominent, or should be in anatomy, because they're close to the skin. So referring to them somehow, gives a level of realism, a little bit of realism to the situation. There we go. Yeah, see, the dog agrees. There we go. Some nice spatial and form drawing. It's a lot of fun. Believe me, it's a lot of fun. When you start work on, grey tone paper with white pencils, it has a sort of a sculptural quality to it, which is really interesting. It's using the shorter of the two. I want to get this shirt in. He has this sort of he likes these checks, doesn't he? Sort of a very sort of a kitcheny effect, but I think it actually gives him more of that Dennis the Menace dad look, which is kind of nice. So where are we going with this? Okay, bring it down there. Yeah, that'll do. Go back here. So looking at moving things around, and suddenly it's you've changed stuff too much. Also, I think his suits tend to wear him rather than him wearing suits. So it's sort of a very straight, soldier-like effect. Okay, so there we go. Let's continue on a little bit better, a little bit more. Try and put some checks in. What's happening here? This is wrong. That's better. Right, so let's continue down here, fix this line up, make it more definite. See, the black pencil helps the definition. A little bit of the brown pencil. The brown pencil establishes the structure, the form. The black pencil gives more definition to the form and creates a stronger dialogue. Light and dark. That's the dialogue. So, here we go. Unbeknownst again. What else can we do? What more mischief can we get into? Let's try to darken some of these lines here. Use the brush pen. So I'm just trying to help the contrast a little bit. Yes, I know his glasses are black. We're going to make that decision in a moment. Okay. Colour it in. All of these little details add up. They also add up in time because they take time to draw in. Okay. There you go, it's alright. So thick and thin gives a impression of roundness, helps with the formation of these stronger elements. You don't want to do it too much over everything, but certainly over the outer edges helps to establish a strength and helps kick it out from the background a little bit better. There we go. Might should I do make the outlines a little bit darker? Just be careful of the It's a bit hard to work out whether I think it'll work. I hope it'll work. Okay. I think so far so good. Alright, now we're going to cut into the background with the black pen, but before we do that I'm going to create some more relevance with the white pen. Let's see if I can get the Oscar marker to flow and give us a bit of a strength. This is like a nice opaque look, and these are really good for these little point lights, reflections, especially in the eyes and in glass and things like that. got a nice element of surprise. I think I'm helping it a little bit. Whoops, careful. So, it's a lot of linear elements, and a lot of tonal elements. And there's a beautiful sense of balance between the two things, which I'm trying to capture. I'm detecting it in the reference, but I'm trying my best to capture a lot of these qualities that I'm seeing there that help tell the story of Daniel Andrews. Okay. So, don't forget the widow's peak there. It's actually, there's a bunch of them there, but that'll do. Some more elements of shine. So, the shine gives more drama to the situation. And that's really important. Because especially politicians and actors and things like that, they're all about these dramatical elements in their roles or their work or their lives or whatever. And, you know, we look at them and we judge them on how well they behave or how well they respond based on something that is in between empathy and Schadenfreude. Because it's like, you know, there by the grace of God or whatever go I. And, you know, we're all familiar with that saying, and yes, that is part of the concept of you know, empathy. We empathize with animals, we empathize with humans, with their pain and their suffering and their dramas, etc., etc., etc. So, and that is true, of course, of, you know, people in public life. Whether you like it or not, you may not like to you know, sympathize or empathize with Donald Trump, but you do. And if you didn't, guess what? You wouldn't be a human. So there is that. You can be as political as you like, but the end result, I mean, the ultimate thing is that humans are human. And if that means humans are humane, then guess what? We're humane. That's it. That's all there is to it. Politics aside, you know, we're people, after all. We're people. And people suffer, and people feel pain, and people feel anguish, and people feel happiness, and, you know, a whole range of emotions and things like that, which is part of life. And, you know, this is part of life. We're going through a trying time at the moment. But ultimately, you know, we'll come through it, hopefully with flying colours, usually with flying colours. I mean, we're kind of up in arms about a lot of things perhaps, but, at the end of the day, everything evens out. You can't be angry forever. So that's my lesson.
It's a lost lesson for today. Can't be angry forever.
You can't be Ren. You've got to be more Stimpy. So we all love Stimpy. Stimpy the idiot, the everyman. We're all Stimpy. This man more than most probably at the moment. So more Stimpy than Ren Hoek, definitely. All right, let's try to get some more. What else can we use in here to get into mischief? This is a nice thing. This is it's another point media. This is a nice thing here. This is a brush pen. It's a white brush pen. You can pump it and make the pigment drop down into the brush. So that's good. Okay. The beauty about this is it's very strong, and because it's a brush, it just flows better and has a thick and thin possibility and a feathering, so it can kind of nice to put in these highlights, I think. Okay. I'm just going to put a little bit of highlights around here and there. Fix that up a bit. Okay. I'm going to do it too much. I'll be here forever. Alright, so what can we do? More mischief. Let's get into the you know what, like there's too many lights happening here. Just get rid of one. That's better. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to cut in. You don't mind if I cut in? So I'm going to cut in around all of these shapes and lines and things, and hopefully not lose the details too much. Right. So when I cut in, it's sort of, I'm just painting in the negative space. But I like to make it simpler, much as I can. So this is good. Okay, there we go. There's a lot of chaotic here, but if I'm careful, I can get the chaos and still have simplicity. So not just enough detail, but not too much to be too distracting. So because of the lens effect, of course, you've got the ears missing in this part of the glass. Let's see if it works. Yeah, kind of. I know what it is, but it just looks weird anyway. Doesn't matter. I'll just leave that for now and come back to it with a pen. Might be a bit easier. I'm using the brush for this because I've got to cut into some of these hair shapes, and be careful that don't obliterate them. They'll be swallowed up by the black sky, the black space. Here we go. This brush pen, the Zig, it's got an ink that's like calligraphy ink, so it's not as thick as Indian ink, but has got good coverage and dries quite flat, so there's not sort of a patina or it doesn't sort of weaken, grey out in some areas. It's quite even. The flow of it's quite even. It's cool. I like it. Alright, so paint around there and go down there, paint around there. I think the rest of it, I'm going to use a black pen now, black marker. It's not a marker, it's a Posca. So, what nuisance can I do? What things? Where is my black marker? Here it is. You get the little ball bearing and you press it. And out comes the pigment, and it looks very glossy here, doesn't it? But don't worry, it'll dry flat, just like the brush that it's colouring it around. Okay. Nearly there, folks. So we're right in the middle of the, pandemic and shutdown, stage 4, whatever. A bit nervous about stages. I wonder what stage 5 or 6 would be. Stage 4, it sounds so excessive. It is. There's a lot going on. So that's what we have to deal with, isn't it? All right, let's try to get some consensus here. Don't forget our word for the day. What's our word for the day? Unbeknownst. There we go. Unbeknownst. Nearly there. There we are. Okay. So, unbeknownst, this is it's quite nice, I think. It's quite a nice drawing. Does it look like him? I think it does. It's got some key elements in there which I think I've been able to capture. It's just like his expression. It's more an example of Dennis and Menace's dad as well. So it's that sort of like, whoop. It's the Unbeknownst. This is a caricature of Unbeknownst. This is Unbeknownst. This is Daniel Andrews. This is Frantz Kantor saying to you, I will catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.